Hey good people, it's Kat with Kat Wearing Photo, and today's video we're actually going to be post-processing 3 portraits in Lightroom, starting with this very first one of Caity. Caity is a model based in San Diego, California, and I've shot with her plenty of times. This particular shoot was really fun because we actually ended up taking portraits underneath the water using a cell phone. But again, that's going to be for another video at another time. So let's start with this photo here. I really like this one. What we're going to do is I'm going to set that rating to 2 just because I like this composition a lot. And then as you'll see, I usually start with the basics panel and I work my way from the top, starting with the exposure. And I'm going to work my way all the way down to the saturation. Now, take note of the time again, it's 12:11, and I purposely only gave myself 2 to 3 minutes to edit this photo. And the reason why I challenge myself with that is because I want to speed up my post-processing time. And the only way for me to effectively and quickly improve is to challenge myself like this. And I, of course, put myself on the spot. So let's see how I do. Now, if you guys do like watching some of these videos, then please drop me a line, comment. Love to know your thoughts. And also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me a lot. So thank you in advance. All right, so for the clarity, I'm popping a little clarity into the mix. One of the things that I do like to do, I'll decrease the texture, but I'll increase the clarity to counterbalance. And another thing too, I think more importantly, I love vibrance. I love to pop the vibrance nearly all the way to the right. But as you can see, skin color usually creates these orange skin tones, which obviously that does not look natural. So I'll go into the HSL color bar, specifically the orange, and I'm going to desaturate the orange. That usually remedies the problem. Also the yellow in this particular circumstance. Now we got the yellow just about, so let's do the red. I feel like she has a lot of red here too, so we're going to desaturate that as well. Now for this, we're going to change up the hue of the greens and the blues, just because she's wearing a lot of green in her swimsuit. So let's try and match that with the color of the water. What do y'all think? All right, guys, so take note of the time, 12:13. We started at 12:11. So I think that's it. What do you guys like? Do you guys like this post-process? Do you think I did fairly well, giving myself only 2 minutes to do it? All right, thanks so much. Let's move on to the second portrait now. All right, guys, so let's do a portrait of Jaena. Jaena is a Lubbock-based model. For those who don't know, Lubbock is located in West Texas, specifically Texas Tech country. So this particular photo was shot at Texas Tech University on campus. So take note of the time, y'all. It is 11:31. For this one, I didn't do a speed edit. I actually took about 18 minutes to post-process this photo. Now, what I'm doing is I'm looking for a vintage aesthetic for this portrait. So the very first thing that I've done is I went into the left panel under the curves preset, and I did a lift shadows Adobe preset because I really, really love that vintage look. So again, the same thing applies. After I do that and I tweak the lift shadows curve, I'm gonna go, let's do some grain. Let's pop some grain into that again. So what do you think, medium or light? I think for now we'll go with the medium. And let's go straight into the basics panel. So we're going to pop a little bit of the exposure, 0.05. Again, let's decrease the contrast. Let's decrease the contrast to about 75, 77. Okay, I changed my mind. Maybe -7. Let's see. And we're going to decrease the exposure a little bit more. So, can you guys tell a difference between the editing process of the first portrait to this one? Again, by challenging yourself with speed. Speed is going to help you. Speed and deliberation are going to help you with improving your post-processing time. This right here, as you can see, and I'm sure a lot of you guys attest to this, you can easily fall into a rabbit hole of editing your work with minor adjustments, especially if you don't have a time frame. I tend to edit and work my way into rabbit holes all the time with little minor tweaks and adjustments. Sometimes that's really good, but a lot of times it's not, especially if you have deadlines that you have to meet, because then you fall behind. One thing that I like to do, and I know that I've mentioned this in previous photos, I'll go back and forth between zoom and zoom out. It just really helps me take in the full effect, especially if I step away from the computer screen too, just to kind of see what's, the overall picture instead of just being zoomed in into the monitor. All right, tone curves, I don't know. There's a lot going on there, so I'm going to leave that alone. And again, just like the previous portrait, we're going to desaturate the oranges a little bit. Now, you also see that the concrete of the fountain, that has a lot of yellow, a lot of orange into it too. Let's desaturate the yellow. See, that does make a huge difference, doesn't it? Okay, now the blue and the aqua, let's see what we have if we change that up. I think I like that. The hue going towards aqua a little bit. What do y'all think? See, for me at this point, I couldn't decide. So what you saw was I just, again, I slid the bar all the way to the extremes, and then I worked my way in the middle just to see what I preferred. That usually helps. That particular trick and tip usually helps me when I'm very indecisive about something. Now let's do the blue. Ooh, that's a huge difference. I think I like that. Again, left extreme, and I really liked what the extreme resulted in. So I'm going to keep that spectrum and adjust accordingly. You see, I'm going back to the aqua. Now, we do have a lot of red, so I'm experimenting with the hue first. I kind of like the orange red, so we're going to keep it very close to 0. And again, it's all about those minor tweaks that really get you into trouble as far as time. I'm definitely seeing this right now as I'm looking at this video. Do you guys feel the same way? Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment below. All right, color grading. Let's do a color grade. I am all for color grading, but this takes a lot of time. A lot of time. So again, I wanted an aesthetic, a vintage aesthetic theme. So something a little bit washed out and a little bit faded. What type of color scheme should I go for, y'all? I think I found the overall quadrants. Looks like the greens are a contender. So that was for the shadow. Let's do the highlights now. Let's see. Okay, we might be settling for an analogous color scheme here, because as you saw for the shadows, we landed on the green, the top quadrant, and it looks like for the shadows it's going to be an adjacent blue. So that would be an analogous color scheme that we're going for. Midtones. Usually midtones are the second to the last that I edit. I like to work, again, extremes, opposites. So I'll start off with the shadows, then I'll work my way to the highlights, and then the midtones. And as you can see, last but not least, the global. This would be the time where I would probably step away from the computer and look, just to see what the overall effect is of color grading. Another thing that you guys could do is look at the small screen on the navigator. The navigator panel provides you with a small overall picture instead of just a really, really close-up one. So that helps too. Again, lens corrections, I always do that. Do we want a vignette? No, but I do feel like that grain is a lot. What do you guys think? Do you agree? I think we might decrease the grain a little bit, or at least decrease the roughness. And then the calibration. Let's change up the tints. Let's see what we're working with here. And at this point, my computer was slowing down, so there is a lag. Definitely don't like the yellow green. I might actually go for the bluish green hue. Let's see. Ooh, no. pretty good. So before and after, what do you guys think? Now, we're not done yet. I'm not really too sold on the composition, so I'm going to experiment with the cropping here. Now, for any of you guys that are just starting your photography journey, I'm sure that you've heard of the rule of threes. So usually a really good ideal location for the subject is going to be on that 2/3 mark. If you were to split the picture into 9 panels, and a lot of times you'll want to ideally put your subjects in the crosshairs of the 2/3 mark, or even 1/3. Now, at this point, I can't decide on if I want a horizontal composition or a vertical one. That one looks okay, but I'm just not completely sold on it. Let's do a vertical again. Let's see. A lot of times, it's just best to keep things as they are, right? Just keep things simple. You can't go wrong if you keep things simple. The only thing I'm doing at this point is I'm eliminating a lot of the sky compared to the original composition. Kind of like that. What do y'all think? I think that's a little too, or her boot is a little too left of the edge of the picture. Ooh, and that bird is just too distracting. So we're gonna erase that. We're gonna also, a lot of times I find myself doing radial gradients. This particular method that I use really helps to place more focus on the subject. A lot of times I'll do a radial gradient and then I'll invert it. So I'll place it on the subject and then I'll invert it to make the surrounding area darker. You just want to be cognizant of any type of distinction. So if you look at the navigator, if you look at the smaller picture, the thumbnail under the navigator panel, you'll see that there is still a little bit of a halo effect right there. So I'm really cognizant of that. A lot of times you can eliminate that or mitigate that by feathering your mask layer. So that's one thing to keep in mind. A lot of times too, then I'll do another gradient on top of the previous one, but this time to lighten up the subject. So no inversion at this point, we're just lightening the subject directly. But again, keep in mind of the halo effect. You want to make sure that your pictures are as natural as possible. So a lot of times with the radial gradients, I'll go back and forth between the feathering, as you can see, and of course the amount underneath the mask. So, and of course the direct tonal adjustments such as the exposure. All right, what else can we do? You see, so before I did mention that I was not really too sold on that composition. So I think I'm going to move her to the towards the 2/3 of the frame mark right there. So I think I like that better than the previous composition. What do you guys think? And then, of course, right now you can see that I don't think that I want that building in the composition. All right, what do you guys think? I think that looks better. So that is Miss Jaena. Do you like that post-processing work? That actually took about 18 minutes, y'all. So again, let me know if you're enjoying it so far. Okay, so we've reached our last portrait to edit. This one is a Katherine. Katherine is just like Caity, a model based in San Diego, California. And this particular photo shoot was thanks to SD Photo Squad, one of the photo organizations, meetup organizations there in San Diego. Really good group of people. Specifically, Eman, Greg, and Bayani head that up. And it's just a great way to build more community support for fellow photographers. So this particular shoot was great because I do feel like a lot of us tend to work out in boudoir. So, of course, this would be fitting to actually do a boudoir shoot in a gym. At least interesting concept, right? So again, as you can see, exposure, I'm starting from the exposure all the way down to the end of it. Tone curve is something that I love doing. I don't think that we did that for the previous photo of Jaena. Ooh, I do like that color combination a lot. What do you guys think? And if you want a lot of mood to your pictures, tone curve is one way to do that. Now, just like before, a lot of times I'll increase the vibrance, but I'll desaturate the orange and possibly the yellow. So that's what I'm doing here. And see, since I desaturated the orange, I'm going to saturate. Oh, actually, no. I just left the red alone. A lot of times I'll saturate the red if I desaturate orange. Now let's do color grading. So with the shadows, again, I start with the shadows and then I'll jump to the highlights. My workflow, that tends to work for me. What color should I go for, y'all? I guess for this shoot, I'm doing midtones just to see what that provides. And then of the global, let's figure that out. Ooh, that one's, I don't know, y'all. I might like the green a little bit. What do you guys think? That might be... Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Before, after, what do you guys think? Again, drop me a comment below. I want to know what your thoughts are, any recommendations, or if you enjoy it. See, and that's one key tip here. A lot of times if you are indecisive or you're getting lost in the colors, it's good to do a split before and after screen, just to see how far you are from the original color. Now, of course, I love my grain, so I'm going to pop some grain in. I usually decrease the roughness from 50 to 25 though. All right, so take note of the time. It's 12:26. I think I ended up stopping at 12:29. So we're nearly there. I do work with gradients, as you saw, but this time it's a linear gradient. There was a window behind us and to the right of the camera, and because of that, it lit the ground as well. Again, I'm all about placing emphasis on the subject and creating mood. And one of the ways to do that is by darkening everything, just about everything surrounding the subject. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm placing 2 linear gradients at the bottom left and right of her, just to darken the ground. And then I think I might do a radial gradient. Yep. I'm going to do a radial gradient of her now. Oh, at this point, I just did another linear gradient of the ground, this time incorporating all of that, because that actually provides more of a natural blending, I think. All right, radial gradient of her face. So we'll do that. We'll increase the exposure just a little bit. It was at 0.25, but I think that should be fine right there. All right, guys, I have 1 more minute to go before I call time on this photo. Nearly done, nearly done. Again, now, in this circumstance, you want to go to your navigator thumbnail and just, again, see the overall picture here. This is one good opportunity to zoom out and see what you're working with. Take note of any type of halo effects that you might see around the subject and adjust accordingly. All right, it's time, I think. Zoom in. Let's make some final adjustments here if needed. I think we're good. We're at 12:29, so we started at 12:22. All right, guys, so like what you saw, we just edited 3 photos in Lightroom within close to 30 minutes. So I really love to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want some notifications on each time that I upload, then please click that bell notification. But thanks so much again. And until next time, take care.